This is a Legend of Korra. The description is, panelists, that's us, discuss the hit series The Legend of Korra, which had its finale in 2014. Topics may include its influence on traditional TV airing versus online debuts, mature themes on a kids network, and other lasting impressions. So, our names are up here, so you should be able to figure out who's who. I'm Wendy Bowlesby. I'm on the panel because I love the show. And I have a small daughter who is 6, and she also loves the show. So I have a kind of a fun perspective on it as both a fan and a parent.
I'm Kathy Sullivan. I write adult fantasy and science fiction, and I'm on the panel because I wanted to be on, because I love the show, love the diversity, love the world building.
And I'm Nicole DeBue, and I'm on the panel because I love the show. I write animation, and I'm actually like another avatar as well. So
I'm Sama Johnson. I'm a librarian. I don't know how I ended up on this panel. Just luck somehow. I don't know. But no, I absolutely loved Avatar after I finally watched it. I like to binge watch things after they're over. And I actually really enjoyed Korra from the beginning. So, I'm excited to be here, even if I don't know what I'm talking about.
Stole everything I was going to say.
Sorry.
I'm Nick Stoner. I have recently joined the Anime Summit podcast. We're going to start in July. But yeah, I'm just like some random guy on the panel.
Who proposed the panel?
It's his
I
very
suggested
first
the
panel
I have seen the
ever.
Excellent, excellent. All right, somebody mentioned diversity, and that seems like as good a place to start as any. As a parent with a small child who is incredibly blonde and blue-eyed, I really like that this is a show where you see so many different representations of what people can look like. Other thoughts?
And also the women. You have very strong women in both the original Avatar and in Korra. And when Su Lin joined the group, it was like, this is fun. This is really good.
Anytime you get strong, independent female characters, I'm in. Like, that's all you need to get me to read or watch something. Not just because I am a girl, because honestly, whatever. But just because they're so much more interesting than the dudes clad in body armor and which not that that's not fun, but it's just so much more refreshing to see that powerful female character because we have so few of them, especially on, say, powerful being that operative word, because Nickelodeon actually isn't that bad at that. I mean, they've got some great classic shows, like I used to love Clarissa Explains It All and that sort of thing, right? So yeah, having that female character that, does everything you want her to do, and it's a girl, not a dude, but then she has the male backup too. I think that's really important to point out.
Well, tagging on to that, considering the contrast between Avatar and Korra, where Aang in the first series was a male avatar, very much very emotional, very sensitive actually. And then what I really loved is that when it's a female avatar, Korra, and she is hot-tempered, and she is impatient, and she is flawed. I really love that in a weird sort of way, she's bad at feeling, she's bad at being social. Because so often, especially when you get a female character who's the hero character, she ends up being everybody's mom, everybody's, they always take that emotional attack for female characters. So to represent the diversity and like Su Lin, I like it, if you're gonna show me powerful women, I would also like you to show me a variety of personalities, not just, look at me, I'm amazing in every way, which means I'm also socially amazing. No, Su Lin's a complete, grown mother. Very
diversity too. I think that they did a great metaphor using the spirit world and the idea of the other suddenly being part of regular life and what it means to have some creatures who are from another realm and suddenly they're living with you and what you accept and what don't you accept. I think that was kind of a brilliant way in that.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Nick to say something. He's been quiet.
Talking about Aang and how he's very emotional. That earlier today, when I was telling my friends that I was on this panel, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. That reminded me. They were talking on Avatar, Aang, at the end of the show, he's like, I don't want to have to kill him. I don't want to have to kill him. And he's talking to his past selves, and they're like, dude, you gotta kill him. And I honestly, you don't get that from Korra. She does, and she wants to do what she has to do. So Korra is very different from Aang, even though technically, they're the same person. That spiritual whatever. And yeah, it's just an interesting thing to think about that you have Aang as the monk airbender, and I don't want to kill people. Yeah, dude, you gotta kill it. And then, Korra's just like, I guess, I gotta do it, so let's just do it.
See, for me, what I loved about both shows is they're very good with relationships and the way you have to negotiate relationships, which makes it, as an adult, enjoyable because it's a lot deeper, it's a lot more interesting. But I'm sitting there watching my daughter watch, and she's learning things from a show that she loves. Like Aang has this crush on Katara, and there was this point where he's like, well, I thought we were going to be together. And basically, the message there is, you don't just get to win me. You have, this is my choice as well, and I'm not ready for this. We have other things that are going on, and don't talk about that. That's not what's happening here. I'm like, yes, exactly. You don't, just because you're in love with somebody doesn't mean that's what happens naturally, which is a nice antidote to the princess mythology that comes out so often, aimed towards girls. And then the way the family relationships play out in Korra between the brothers and sisters with Booty
And Toph's daughters,
Yeah.
they're they hate each other, but they're also, we are sisters, we do love each other, we love our mother, even though our childhoods are crap.
And then when Toph shows up.
When Toph, oh my God, Toph, I wanted to cry when she came on, Toph, I love you, you're back. And she looks amazing. She's been out in the wilderness for 20 years, and she looks great.
And she just lays the smack down on Korra. And
She's just you're gonna just do, what are you doing here? You got crap to be doing. Why are you bothering me here in my wilderness?
Wine,
Yeah.
yeah. You've been through crap, whatever, get over it, suck it up, kiddo.
It's so cool. Here's what I've been through.
And still calling her Twinkle Toast.
Yeah.
I teared up when Uncle Iroh appeared in the spirit
Oh
world.
my God, yeah, no, totally. And yeah, Iroh. You want to take a question?
Well, just on the subject of sort of the relationship and emotional sort of diversity and the representation of different types of personalities. I thought that Asami was also, provided another perspective on what it is, not only to be a woman, but also just to be a person, and especially with her sort of navigating not having any bending powers. Can you talk a little about Asami?
Oh yeah, no, it's great. Because she, especially in the core four, she's the only non-bender.
Right.
But she is still fully capable, and
She kicks some butt when she needs to.
she can kick some butt. But what I like is that she's not in the core four because she can kick butt. She's not in the core four because
And she's not just there to look pretty either.
she's not just there to look pretty. She's
serves
not
the
there.
purpose.
Often the least powerful becomes the social negotiator or mediator, and she.
Well, that didn't work with Sokka.
I was just rewatching the one where they go to Fire Island and they watch the play, and I love that.
That was Toph's original design. It's like a big burly guy, and they changed it at the last minute to a girl.
So and I love when Zuko's like, I don't talk like that. Anyway, but back to the point of Asami, she's a fully realized person, and she's never. It really shows you that these are really fascinating characters. They never really consider, oh, you're not useful because you can't bend. It's just like, well, you're fully a part of the group, and
She's got the car.
she's got the car.
She's got the clothes.
She's smart, she's capable, she problem solves, she's very good at thinking her way through things. And yeah, when push comes to shove, she can probably kick your butt into an alley, so that's good too. But they didn't pick her up and say, you can join us because you're strong and you can fight. They're like, no, you're smart, and we like you. We like the way you do things. Jump this. Also, super pretty. Yeah.
As far as the core 4 on Legend of Korra versus Avatar, Did you feel like the Korra and Avatar were like more closely entwined? Then it seemed like everybody had like their own stuff going on. It seemed like they could separate a lot more easily on Korra and be like individuals a lot more than.
Well, I think that's
whole group.
partially a construct of the main plots too.
Yeah, they had 4 books, so like Avatar had like one main story, Korra had like 4 separate stories. They didn't have any filler.
Everybody was on one quest together in
Yeah.
Avatar, so it was unusual if they split apart.
Plus with Korra, you have the whole everybody wants to date each other thing.
Which I really wanted to talk about.
I'm glad I brought it up then. Yeah, and I mean, and then that's fine. Like I like that they brought, you know, not necessarily like, you know, sexual relationships, although obviously that ending, spoiler alert, Korra and Asami going into the spirit world, you know something's happening. Like that wasn't just a friendly hug. Let's just admit that right now. And yeah, like everybody just wants to be together, and it's like, okay, yeah, it was fine with you guys just being a group of friends, but okay.
But that's teenagers.
Well,
I think with this being the sequel to the original show, they were trying to take the kids that had watched it and then say, now this is where you are now, this is where these characters are now too. So I think they just wanted to, you know, follow along and track with the kids, you know?
well, and she started so much older too, because she's like 16 in the first book. So I mean, yeah, she's growing up. You know, she is. You know, you don't necessarily want to think about, you know, she is thinking already, kind of, you know, what am I going to do with my life? Like, you know, do I want to have this other person? Do I want to have children someday? But you know, Aang did that once his story was over. He went and he did things, and so she has to always have that in the back of her mind that my story will be over one day. I will have all my techniques and I will have done this thing. What's going to come for me after that, and can I get a jump start on that while all of this crap storm's going on? Like,
And
You
it's,
guys-
sorry, go ahead, you go.
Oh, okay.
Do you guys think Korra would need any help having a baby? She could just bend it out.
If you can if you can waterbend.
Yeah.
Because waterbenders are healers, so they probably make really great midwives.
Like heal in the process, like, yeah, that's just, ooh, you're not gonna feel that.
I was already never having children, now I'm really never having children.
Yeah, when they talk about the miracle and joy of birth, they're lying.
Well, anytime it comes up now, I'm going to think of amniotic fluid waterbending.
But the reason I kind of, coming from the parent perspective, that my daughter is watching this show that's actually aimed older and I have no problem with it, is because, you know, first Korra's with Mako, right? I'm using the right names, okay. First she's with Mako, but then Mako's with Asami, but then they're back together, but then Korra doesn't know, and then, well, maybe we shouldn't be together, and I'm like, yes!
It's the memory.
Yes, no, honey, by the way, you don't just fall instantly in love and you're with that person for the rest of your life. You're going to try out a lot of different relationships, and they're not going to go well, or it's going to be weird, and then trying to be friends with somebody you've dated, yeah, that's going to be awkward. And yeah, just pretend to lose your memory.
Authentically too, that, you know, oh Mako, I'm so happy to see you, and you know, the big kiss, and then Asami's like, bitch, that's my boyfriend, like,
Yeah.
like, so yeah.
I wanted to talk about how the Korra and Asami relationship is also like a natural conclusion to the idea that the last 3 seasons of the show are about the connection between spirituality and the industrial complex. And those 2 characters, Korra and Asami, represent those 2 things. So I mean, it was a natural conclusion for them to end up together at the end.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I did not enjoy that.
Yeah, well done, I
I
had
feel
fun.
like it really is on the part of whoever the cracks off that up.
Yeah, we spent hours and hours working on that, let me tell you.
You know, my first watch through, like I was like, what? At the end, like, did that really just happen? Like, did I just make that up? And then I re-watched it, and you can actually see it happening much better once you know that it's coming. And just that, you know, that really isn't as crazy and far-fetched
No.
as you think.
Their relationship,
more about it. They
Oh.
actually do plan this.
gosh, yeah, the showrunners on this show, and actually everybody on Avatar and this show, they love it. They put in extra hours, they always plus everything, the animation would come back with extra stuff. The thing with I think it was the cabbages guy. Was that was a bonus that came back from the foreign studio. It was not in the animatic that they sent. It came back like that, and Nickelodeon are like, yes, we love you more. So then that became a running gag. But the showrunners on this, they are so smart and they are so good, and they planned all this arc from the get-go. They knew where they were going.
Oh, wow.
So.
Yeah. They did like 30 episodes at once, like making them. Like they were like 2 years ahead.
Well, it's kind of one of those shows where you kind of feel like they had to do that, just to keep everything.
And we do all know that the Korra Asami that's canon.
Yeah, that's
That was the
canon. They
intent.
confirmed that.
Yeah, which was super exciting for me because, of course, I really want my daughter to see that you have options, and just because you started in one place doesn't mean you can't try out a different place and see if it's for you, and that's okay too.
Well, and I like that they did it in, like, it's not like a blunt slap to the face kind of thing. It was just, yeah, that's a thing now. Kind of like Dumbledore being gay. Like, he was gay the whole time. And, like, but with them, like, obviously they dated men, they, whatever, and yeah, they're together now, and it's okay. Nobody's gonna make a big deal about it. Everybody's fine. It's not the end of the world, so.
It is for Mako though.
Yeah.
How bad does he feel?
Well, there is something to be said for, wow, I had 2 girlfriends, and apparently I was such a bad boyfriend, they would rather be with me. He had great hair though. Also a good coat. His coat was really excellent.
Officers, they'll have a bunch of kids and they'll be
And didn't you feel that too, like when to the show, that he was always like, well, I have my job, I have my duty. He kind of did have that relationship first in a way, that kind of kept coming in the way.
Yeah, the whole honor thing, that's a dude thing.
It's always so great when the characters from Avatar would show up, like, and you'd see them, and they would show up.
Zuko, every time Zuko shows up, I'm like, Zuko!
Okay, wait.
And Zuko and his dragon.
Oh my God, that relationship just made me so happy. Okay, lots of hands, lots of hands. I saw the orange hair first.
Oh, right, that's me. I keep forgetting that my name is cool. So I came into Korra kind of burned out on the love triangle trope. So I actually almost noped out once the love triangle really became a thing. I'm really glad I didn't, because one of the things that made me really, really happy is even before the romantic aspect between Korra and Asami developed, they were still friends. Throughout the entire thing, they never really blamed each other. They only blamed Mako because Mako was the one who tried to do that. And I think it's really important for young people especially to see that, yes, you can both date the same person, presumably at different times, maybe not at the same, maybe sometimes.
Depends on the rules of your relationship.
Depends on the type of relationship. But even if things fall apart and this person then is also dating your friend, you can still remain friends. And a guy doesn't have to tear apart female friendships. I think that's really important for young girls.
We don't have to compete.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a competition.
There's a lot of people like don't date each other's friends. We don't have to. Maybe not in the Korra world. There's like probably 1,000 people in that world.
Really?
He designed it all, so.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Barrack? And how he made
Julie! That's my new cry at home. Just do the thing.
Yeah, Julie, literally my favorite relationship in all this. But that she like can totally put him in his place when she really needs to though. Like the whole part where she just what grandma. I'm just that was worth all the crap he does to her. Seeing her fight back. Favorite relationship on the whole show.
Well, and when she abandoned him, so
and
good.
he's just great.
But Julie knows what the thing is.
She was infiltrated.
Barrack's essentially a variation on Tony Stark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I find him attractive.
You see that a lot in Hollywood too, by the way, just that whole relationship with, you know, showrunner and assistant, yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, Matt?
One of the aspects that I enjoyed about the different books of Korra is that the villains all represented a different extreme version of a political philosophy. What did you guys think of that?
The female Earth Kingdom. Thank you. I'm so deprived of names, so the first thing to go. God, I loved her character so much. I love their villains. I do. Not in Korra more than in Avatar, because in Avatar, Fire Lord or Ozai was just like, what are you just? He was just like your classic psychopath.
Evil overlord type of guy, yeah.
Oh, by the way, we've all read the comic of the findings of those mom, right?
No.
There's a comic book. It's a series. It's what?
The Surge.
The Surge, yeah. And it's canon. It's in the canon. So and it's super good. You should all go read it because it really is fantastic. What was his name? Oh yeah, Kabara. So let's talk through this. So we have crazy Eskimo uncle.
Before that,
But before that was the plot. The first was the
Spike Spilling.
the anti-vendors.
The anti-vendors.
And then Umlok, and then Zakir, and then Kahira.
Zahir, oh.
Yeah.
Zahir was the one that I actually was having like physically tense when he had Korra in his grasp. I'm like, this is not gonna end well. Oh my god, this guy. And so it's not so much the villains. I love what they bring out in Korra. I love that it's so rare that you see the consequences of what are really traumatic. I mean, because in most hero stories, right, they save the day and ta-da, I'm the hero. And so when you get to see the fallout of, and by the way, now I have PTSD, or I have this poison in my system, and like after Zahir, she goes off and she thinks she's only going to be gone for a little while, and she's gone for a very long time.
Right, like 3 years or something.
Yeah, and everybody's just like, where the hell have you been? We kind of moved on without you. It really reminded me of Buffy.
Yes, there are a lot of Buffy girls for sure.
That reminded me of the Venture Brothers. Rusty goes partying for a year. Except the opposite, not partying. So maybe.
And I really feel like in Airbender, it was really the hero's journey, and so that's why you needed kind of these like, you know, archetypal villains, you know, and it really felt like a journey and a gathering of power, whereas Korra kind of starts in media res. I mean, she's been training for this, and here you go, Korra, we're going now, you know? I thought that was really interesting. They're both able to tell those different stories, because they are different stories. I mean, from world concept to execution. Well, it's kind of neat.
I love that technology became something that got added. I was like, yes, thank you, because it's been one of the things that bothers me about.
Crazy fast progression too, I mean, in grand scheme.
Well, except
powers.
except not, because they had introduced so many things with the firebenders that you're like, well, if they've got that, then there should be stuff happening. Because one of my biggest sort of like pet peeves about so much classic fantasy is, it's been thousands of years and you really haven't developed any technology? Are you kidding me?
You just keep burning down their libraries, probably.
People don't learn from your mistakes.
Never
apparently.
burn down your libraries. You will anger so many librarians.
Take one thing away from Khan.
Also, please return your library books and pay your fines. It's not hard, and we will ban you for life if you don't, okay?
I'm not picturing it all in the library, basically come in. Sorry.
Library ninja.
Okay, so many hands. Let's start at the back. So, glasses.
Okay.
You. Yes, you.
So, Ba Sing Se apparently never changes in the series. Well, it does in Korra, but like it made me kind of happy, but also a little infuriated when we go to Ba Sing Se and it's just as completely controlled as it was when Aang was there.
Well, that's in keeping with what Ba Sing Se is. And what I particularly love is how that represents, it's a good reflection of Earth. That it's actually kind of the natural worst case scenario of if you allow somebody so controlling, right? And that's where they would go. Behind purple, you, other glasses.
Sort of going off of the technology talk you were saying before, I like that in Korra, there is that technological advancement, and it's sort of, it fills the niche for non-benders. Like, this is what they do, because in The Last Airbender, Sokka was just brimming with angst sometimes, like, why am I not a bender? I could be out there doing all that. And, he eventually finds his own thing, but in Legend of Korra, you have Asami, you have Varric, you have Julie, all these non-benders proving their worth, not just being background characters, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Well, and even the villains, you have,
Yeah, the mustache guy with the glowy sticks.
but Kavira isn't a bender. I apologize.
Zaire was the one who wasn't a bender until.
Oh, but he was, ooh.
But Kavira is still hiring Varric and saying, hey, make the technology for us, so.
Okay, purple?
Well, just sort of, I guess, piggybacking on like something we're saying, Bossing Say didn't change, but like one thing, and it kind of leads to something else where, if you think about it, like the problem with Bossing Say was before was like, the secret government and like the king and like they had no idea what was going on and stuff, and now so the exact opposite problem is happening now. So it's like, well now the king and royalty are in charge, and it's shitty.
Yeah, she's kidnapping all the airbenders that came out.
Yeah.
But I mean, something interesting with Korra is that like a lot of the problems were caused because of things that were like almost like successes in Avatar or something. Like the villain in season 1 is a result because Aang didn't kill that one guy.
See, you should have just killed him, right?
Right.
Listen to yourselves, and
But the fact being, like, the consequences, no matter what happens, like, it leads to, and that's just kind of something that happened in the original Avatar, too, is, like, every Avatar had to deal with a problem, like, something that the previous Avatar had an issue with or something.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, no, that's
what
totally
Aang had
true.
to deal with, his previous Avatar.
Yeah.
His friends with the king.
Not
Yeah,
killing,
because,
Suzan.
yeah, and again, you gotta kill him, just kill him, okay?
I want to see Kyoshi's story, that'd be sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like a prequel.
What I was thinking about that I want your opinions on is the way that every character remembers things when you end up with those episodes that retell stuff that happens. Like in the old Avatar with the stage show and the people who knew what had happened were retelling, and that they took a strong character like Tom and just made her a dude because she was like that. Or the Cliff episode where they had Bolin retelling stuff, or when we saw Top again. And when she retold what happened, she just made it really mundane and boring, even though it was this
But
huge
I think that's how true the storytelling works, though. 'Cause, okay, so if you see me later, I've got kind of these weird like scar marks on my leg right now. The easy story is I fell at the zoo. I have a longer version of that story. And so kind of like who are they? Who's their audience? Who are they talking to? It's just, yeah, I fell at the zoo and it was stupid and it was dumb and my mother left me there to die, and I was scarred for life, thanks, Mom, but yeah, so I think a lot of that, it's a storytelling thing, is, who are you telling the story to? Do they really want to hear the whole story? And that kind of thing. Because, yeah, when you're telling stories to your friends, you're going to give them the long drawn-out version, but someone walks up to me on the street, oh my gosh, what did you do to yourself? I fell at the zoo, I'm going to the zoo. So, yeah. And that's my take on that, is that, yeah.
And the personality, I think Varric is really going to blow up this whole story much bigger than, because he's doing a mover story. We can make a mover about that.
Right, yeah.
Well, and everybody has a different perspective on it and notices different things, and so everybody's version of a story is different.
Yeah.
Which is a big argument point in my house right now.
Yeah, that's like the first witness thing. Like when a crime happens and there's 500 witnesses, every witness saw it from a different angle, different perspective. They're going to remember different things. That's why when you take like a law class, you'll sometimes see like clips. I think they did like Veronica Mars or something too. a guy in black rushes in, grabs a girl's backpack and runs out. And what did you see? Everybody in that classroom saw something different. So, yeah, I think Liz in that too.
So now, since the Ember Island players was done by the Cabbage Patch.
And a surprisingly knowledgeable cabbage merchant.
I guess,
Could you basically say that they loved him coming back?
Coming back, yeah, then they started writing for him. Once they got him the first time, then they're like, oh, this guy's coming back.
And then expanded out to the Ember Island.
Exactly, yep. And then,
Cabbages.
lucky he didn't get his own show at that point.
Ooh, I would watch the show.
You've been waiting a really long time. Let's go with you first.
I really enjoy Tenzin's art. As a son of Aang,
Yes.
he is
Struggling
supposed to be
to do
this
the
awesome
spiritual
thing,
thing.
to be the spiritual master, to train the next avatar, to do all this stuff, and
And repopulate all the
he's bad at
airbenders.
it.
And repopulate all the airbenders.
He's good at having kids though.
He thinks that he's supposed to be the next hero in the story, and he's really not.
It's really great, you know, because usually you see the person who's like, I know what I'm meant to do and I'm going to do it, and it's so nice to see like, maybe you have a different path. Maybe you just need to listen, you know, and I love that moment when you had to let go and say, I can't do this, you know, my daughter can do this. I thought that
He's
was
in the
such great
places he also
storytelling,
lives.
you know?
And I think Tenzin thinks that he's always, you know, he grew up in the shadow of his dad, Aang, and he wants so much to be like his dad because Aang was so great. And he can't because he's not Aang, he's not the Avatar, he doesn't have that power. And so, yeah, I think that he can let it go and let his daughter take her path because that's not his path. And that he can admit that to himself. I think that was,
I
was
hug him a lot.
hard for Tenzin.
And you could stop trying to make everybody into the Air Nation. Because of those poor people like, we have to shave our heads, wait a minute.
Brother and sister, what's he wants to
Stop,
do?
you know?
But then the moment when the guy did shake his head, it's like, no, really, it helped. It was so great. I could feel it. What I like about Tenzin and his relationship with his brothers and sisters, especially with Bumi, and the way they're like, you were always Dad's favorite because you were the airbender. And, well, no, I wasn't. Don't we all remember when we went on that trip? No, that was just you and Dad. And then the relationship between Tenzin and Bumi, and I love when, you know, Bumi's telling his outrageous story, he's like, shut up, Bumi, that's not how it happened, you tell your stories, and then you follow Bumi on that one episode as the crazy things happen, and he takes out the whole army. You wouldn't believe it.
And I love that they could do like the great one-shot episodes like that, where you get that side story like with Boomy or whatever. And they did it in Avatar too. So yeah, no.
Please don't call them filler. They're not filler.
They're so not though. They're totally not. Like they are pertinent to the story. Like you need to know what happened
Except
to
the
get
Greek
that
amount.
joke later. So no, they're.
There's no filler for
They never
I
have.
want filler watch like Naruto or something. 100 episodes.
Go watch many hints. So many hints. Okay, this little man over here is waiting very long time. Yeah,
Is there a comment on how Aang died?
not that I know.
I think he just died.
Spoilers!
I nominate you to write it.
There is a reason he died so young though, because he was frozen for so many years,
Yeah,
his
yeah.
lifespan got cut.
He was like
He was 112.
Yeah.
I don't think he died that, I'm
He
sorry.
died
I
at like 70, I think.
That's
68.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
lived for over 1,000 years.
Was it like 200? Yeah, Zuko's like 100 plus in
Yeah.
Korra, right? And he's like doing backflips and shit.
I guess. I hadn't thought of it in those terms, I guess. Yeah. But no, there's no canon on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, being the operative word there. Watch the or read the comics, see what happens.
Who's writing it, do you know?
I don't know.
I think he would have done a search.
Yeah.
I'll Google it later. As a librarian, I hate telling you to do that, but honestly, we're at con, I don't have other resources for you. So just go Google it.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about how great the show is, and it is great. But I was wondering what each of your opinions would be on a low point, missed opportunity, or disappointment within the 4 seasons of Korra.
2 words. Prince Wu. It was like the Jar Jar Binks of Korra.
The only thing that comes to mind in that mindset, I absolutely hate that they completely disregarded everything from Avatar. It doesn't make sense.
Well,
Like, when you watch it back to back, it pops out more. But yeah, like it didn't sit right with me. That was the only thing, like, off the top of my head that just irked me. That, yeah.
On that, could it have possibly been that the spirit god, turtle, dragon things gave the ability, but the ability was harnessed and learned through watching animals? Because then,
In the grand scheme of things, like later on, but yeah, I mean,
I'm going to be a
you'd have to ask
religious
someone.
apologist. This happened a very, very, very long time ago, right? And so probably what happened is between the actual origin of the powers and the time the stories got told, at some point there came a point where the truth was lost. And then people really
5
did.
years between the two shows.
Well, but
So,
well, what I'm saying is there's an unexplored part of this world, of this world's history, where it could be like they went through a dark ages, and when they had to relearn these things, they learned them from the animals. So I don't see it as contradictory. I think we know where the powers came from, but how they learned them can still also be that this is where the modern tribes learned it.
Well, the origin story takes place 100,000 years before the
10,000.
original one.
10,000.
Is it 10,000?
I know the answer to
That's still a lot.
I like recorded history.
Oh, come on, but if you're going to talk about history, then let's talk about
I know how things change.
anthropology and mythology. You know how mythology forms. We have to make sense of.
The answer is in season 2 of Legend Korra.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Well, what is it?
Juan did not. Okay, so when Juan actually got the ability to control fire, they never referred to it as bending. He actually learned bending. We actually see him do the dance of the dragons when he's learning that ability, when he's living among the spirits. So he gained the ability to use fire, but bending is also the ability to harness it in a more efficient way. So that was more the martial arts element.
Ah.
Yeah, he got
combination.
So yes, so that is like the answer. What is going on?
Still annoying.
Bending is more than just shooting fire out of your hand. It's all about Eastern medicine and that
I
sort of
wouldn't
stuff.
want fire bending anyway. I totally set people on fire. Accidentally on
You
purpose.
could charge your phone though, just lightning bend it.
Just, this is really, really sidebar, but to that point, I mean, they had martial arts experts, on staff on both times, and I actually walked in on a couple of times. They would do it in the gymnasium at Nickelodeon. They would be doing martial arts and videotaping it, and then asking questions. Okay, well, if you were getting an attack from this angle, how would you react to that? It was really incredible to watch, and I really respect the production for doing that. I mean, they made it legit. This is awesome.
It's more than just martial arts. It's traditional Chinese medicine. I studied it for 3 years, and yeah, it's completely correct on how they do everything.
Yep, I like that. When a show does that research, I mean, when they put that veracity into it, I think that makes it resonate more.
So many hints.
I have no idea.
You had.
Just for funsies, for the panelists, what bending style would you want?
And why?
Okay, water, I totally know, all right? I'm a swimmer, I would be all over that water bending, plus healing, come on, that'd be awesome.
I've always said I wanted the power to fly, but let's be honest, I would love to just burn shit.
You can. You
Right.
Oh yeah.
We'll call that a win. Hashtag winning. Yes, I will fly.
I'm a farm girl, so I think earthbending would probably be the most useful. So.
Oh, see, no, that is actually true. The fact that you said, what would be useful, that's what I want. That's Earth, right there.
No, I still think it's fire, because if you can lightning bend, then you can charge, like, your phone. I mean, you can fight.
Explode your phone.
Okay, that's 3 good reasons. I picked the right one.
I don't want you to practice that on my phone. I'm owned by a cockatoo, so I'm going with airbending.
Great, look at this diversity here, that's really great.
Okay, your last one. Your holdout. What do you
Oh, I
want?
said, yeah, I
You
would
want
lightning
firebending?
bend, so I could charge stuff, but that's not that exciting.
Okay, white coat.
What I really enjoyed most about The Legend of Korra is how, from the ground up, Korra is the exact polar opposite of Aang. Aang is spiritual and level-headed and tactful, and Korra is brash and she rushes into things without thinking. And Korra fails a lot of the time. And these failures have major consequences. At one point, she has like an 8% approval rating. The world is moved on without her. She loses all of her past life. She has completely erased that for any Avatar past her. Korra fails repeatedly, and she becomes more humbled because of this. So she's as a protagonist, she's not perfect. She's in fact incredibly far from perfect, and she's a deeply flawed character, which I think is a lot more interesting to watch. Doesn't mean I like Korra, but it's more interesting.
Well, when we talk about the powerful female characters trope now, I always like it when the female characters aren't powerful. That's when it's a powerful female character, is when you show me somebody real. Because if you're that powerful and you're that perfect, I don't know who you are, but you're not real. Blue, back in the back?
Oh.
Yeah, you.
I was actually going to bring up they didn't necessarily retcon the bending, because in Avatar, Last Airbender, I think it's Book of Fire, where Aang meets one of the giant lion turtles. So you can say that is possibly where the powers did start manifesting. Like they put that in The Last Airbender, and because it's there, they probably were able to then use that asset for Legend of Korra. Like that may have been something that was maybe something on the storyboards before they made Legend of Korra, because they made the entire history, the story, everything, all before Last Airbender started. So that could have been an insert for either a future whatever to come back to, or just to. It's almost a MacGuffin for Aang, and at least in that episode, to get energy bending or whatever to take away someone else's bending. So. I don't know. I would have to disagree with the librarian, because that.
I was gonna say, is there a question in there? I'm
not. No, I'm saying I disagree.
It's okay. I don't care.
Because
opinion. We're all entitled to that.
Everybody's got one. Right here in front.
So kind of into the Aang and Korra being opposites. It's not just their journeys are also the opposites. It's Aang runs away from his problems. He's very passive. He has to learn how to confront and actually be a proactive,
Force change on the world. He really doesn't want to.
Right. And Korra has the opposite problem. She really needs to rein herself back in and actually look at what the actual problem is before she just jumps in and confronts it. She's a go-getter action girl. Love that, but she needed to kind of go on that. She needed to ask it a number of times to go, okay, maybe that's not working.
Maroon.
Going off of the whole Korra makes mistakes a lot thing, I've always wondered how, it kind of was explored, but how much damage can Korra do to the Avatar cycle before it just goes?
She obliterated it.
We think she's dead.
There isn't
We're gonna
one.
make a new one.
Oh, you mean before they pull a Buffy?
Yeah, I was wondering if, at any point, would it's totally possible that just while she's alive, a new Avatar could just pop
God,
out.
so awesome. Can we have a Buffy version of there's two Avatars?
So the way it worked with Buffy is that she would literally have to at least momentarily die to pass it on. But the way Korra has worked is that she has the spirit inside her that allows her the ability to do the four elements.
The spirit moves on.
So yeah, and the spirit is what moves on.
Oh, so we could instead do
that's its name.
Do like in Deep Space Nine, right? Where where Dax.
Trill.
Yeah, the Trill. So we could have an Avatar Trill Dax thing, sort of like, well, I was the Avatar, but then I died briefly, and the spirit moved on, so I'm not the Avatar anymore. How do I feel about that? That would be awesome.
You and the black shirt way in the back, you've been been waiting so patiently.
Well, one of the things I liked about the different bending styles was some of the advanced bending techniques that we got to see throughout the course of all the seasons. Both useful, cool ones like metal bending and some of the more nefarious ones. One of my favorites was when Zahir, I've been sort of waiting for this, like the evil airbending, where you suck the oxygen out of someone's lungs and kill them. So what were some of your favorite advanced bending or evil bending techniques?
Well, and I'm glad they finally gave one to air.
Yeah, me too.
Because I was sort of waiting, like we got blood bending.
Yep.
And
Blood bending, lightning, metal, lava.
So that's the only reason I want water bending.
Blood bending, when they said that, I'm
Because
like,
it just sounds fascinating to try. Like, I'm weird. It's okay. You're getting such horrified looks. Like, just.
No, I think, no, when they came up with that in the show, I was like,
yeah. It's so creepy and dark. Just such a pure form of bending. Because that's the whole thing with it, is that it's cleaning, it's washing, it's healing. And then, yeah, we're going to kill you by using the own water in your body to kill you. Yeah. So, I think blood bending is totally one of my favorites.
and you get lava bending,
Lava bending was super cool too, because you have to live in the right place for lava bending. Like, you can't just carry around a volcano. Like,
You can make lava.
Yeah, make lava.
Yeah.
And then Gazan.
well, and you gotta have like that underground source to bring up. So, actually, lava. It's so weird. I'll have to rewatch.
You can water bend, you can ice bend. You can.
Yeah.
It's a solid liquid forms.
It's the crossover between the next element.
Yes, yeah.
Like all of them, like
Yeah,
lava
it's
bending,
all
fire and
the
water,
diagrams,
like lightning bending and
exactly.
water and
Yep.
fire. They're all just combinations of another element.
in terms of which one would be my favorite, I kind of like the airbending one because you can shut people up. I'm sorry, you're not going to talk anymore.
I would only use that power for evil.
You guys are scary.
Being too loud in my library. I should be encouraged.
I feel like you need to calm down, so I'm just going to help sedate you by depriving you of oxygen. Just a little bit, just enough to just, well, I feel really tired and sleepy. Yes, a little sleepy, aren't you? I think you should take a nap. I'm just saying, as a parent, I don't know where these ideas come from.
People get weird with that though. They get like autoerotic asphyxiation.
Really? So which bending style would be the best for kink? Is that
Next Avatar show because it's fully grown up. That would
I'd watch it.
Okay, back in the hat, you had not had your hand up previously, so you should get to say something.
Going off of this previous question, I thought it was really interesting. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I heard that the power level between the two series was meant to be dropped a bit. So the first four of the gang were like prodigies in all of their styles, which is how they took 4 or 5 months to train up before Sozan's come and all that stuff. Whereas Korra and all them, their styles and their bending powers were essentially nerfed. And does that sound familiar to anyone? No. That's what I heard. Nobody?
It makes sense. I mean, again, back to like the whole stories they're telling, the epic adventure where you have these born heroes versus like people who are just day to day trying to thrive and are in this world. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Well, so Marco and Bolin were already advanced benders in the arena. So they were already.
But I mean, like,
But let's remember when we first meet Katara, she can barely bend at all. And by the end of the arc, which is only months later,
year later,
so she's like amazing. Ugh.
They're not going to pop
I think the build
Grand
is
Prix.
stronger. Like, it's like here's the only airbender ever besides Guru Hima to fly. So like he's super powered up, and then Amon can like energy bend people.
Well, and here's Korra, who's the Avatar, and she consistently gets her butt handed to her by other vendors. Yeah.
I don't know if that's like the writing or just to make it exciting.
So you're thinking the white Lotus basically made her
every
weird
single aspect.
because of how well she was? Because I mean, she was fighting off the White Lotus at the very beginning of the show, so were the White Lotus not pulling a bunch of her?
Well, I think it's a reversal. I think it's a reversal that the first in Avatar, the heroes were all the prodigies who were literally taking things to the next level. And in this one, she's a qualified Avatar. She's very, very good, but she's
about
all
2
of
years
the
old when she's already firebending, earthbending, and
yeah.
everything else.
But her villains are the prodigies. Like they're amazingly like once in a generation talent.
Well, Unalaq turns into like Godzilla, like shooting lasers. Yeah.
Well, and I also feel like it's something that sometimes as I'm watching, like I get frustrated. Like, why doesn't she just go to the Avatar state and do something amazing and solve the problem? But they tell you she's not spiritual. She doesn't have a good, strong connection to her Avatar state. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So many hands. Let me pick one.
I think you can hear something along this.
So kind of getting to the Korra gang, Korra 4, weren't that good, but I think part of it is that when you look at politically like Berlin and Mako, they're doing the pro-bending the sport. And if you look at it from a perspective of like competitive martial arts or fencing or something, and they are very refined forms of that sort of activity. They're not practical. They're not actual. So they're very good at the sport of it, but the sport isn't the actual doing the real world applications of those things. And so when they initially, particularly in the first season, when they get into real fights, they lose. But as the series goes on, they get better.
They're really good fighting together though.
Right.
Like when they fight together, like especially in like third season, their style together is amazing. Like they're covering each other and it's great to watch.
Right. And you watch Balin and Mako, by third season, they're taking on Zahir and his crew, who are the prodigies and once a generation talents, and they're winning eventually. And then, it's that, okay, we're doing sport where it's very kind of stylized, ritualized, and has very strict guidelines, but we're not really capable of doing the real thing.
Well, I think, I don't, but if you watch like professional boxing or something, obviously, if you're a professional athlete, you're gonna be a very different situation in a street fight. So, I mean, yeah, it's all about skills and what you can anticipate and that kind of thing, so, yeah, no.
They did the Firefly treatment.
Well, I really felt like I was sort of always surprised, like, there's another season, it happened.
Well, I mean, when it first started off, it was Saturday morning, and quickly moved Friday night. Why?
My thing with it moving to online actually sucked for me because I live out in the middle of nowhere with satellite internet. You cannot stream on satellite internet. So I would either, have to do the bad thing and pirate it, or, stream it, stay after work and stream it at the library and that kind of thing, which is fine. But, I'd already worked an 8-hour shift. I don't want to sit here for an hour to catch up on Korra every week. So, like, for me personally, I think it was a bad move. I mean, because it limited who can watch it. Because not everybody has the ability to get online and go to your website and stream it. Rural areas, I live in the middle of nowhere, we don't get broadband. Satellite internet is all I can get, trust me.
Or even stream it in a decent quality.
And, so I have to find other routes to do that. So I think they didn't really think that much about who's watching the show and where are they located and that kind of thing, which for most people, I'm sure it's not that big of a deal, just online.
And it didn't help that there were leaked episodes.
Yeah. And going online, I'm sure piracy went up because it's so much easier. I'm just gonna wait for the end of the season and download the whole thing.
Do we know why it went online? Was it bad toy sales? Is that the?
Yeah, we found a year ago Comic-Con, remember?
That's what he said, bad toy sales, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also there's.
Nickelodeon had a lot of regime change.
That was what I was gonna call it, the regime
dumped-
change.
they dumped the
Nickelodeon's
show.
head of animation left and went to DreamWorks. And there was a big shakeup at the studio, and I think that's probably part of this. It's a horrible choice. Everybody wants to see their show finished on television where it belongs, fine. If you want to have it also accessible online, that's great, but no, at the end of a show, you don't do that, that's horrible. You know, and I think it really has to do with toy sales, unfortunately, which drives animation.
I didn't even know there were toys.
Oh, but that's an interesting, sorry, a little sidebar here, because I picked this up the other day at the Mall of America, and the display was a Naga, Appa, we had, I forget his name, the fire ferret.
Pablo.
Yep, and Momo, thank you.
Momo.
They're all there. And Zuko was there, and there was not a single female character to be seen on the
Oh, not again.
Okay, a non-furry.
What I love is, that is a character, that is from Legend of Korra. And they don't have a Korra. Yeah.
They sold out.
Even when the titular hero is a female. Oh, girls don't watch these shows. We don't need to make girl toys.
So that's what I'm wondering. Had there been the girl toys available, would there have been the sales?
Well, exactly.
Right?
Well,
Right?
this gendering is just so much BS. I mean, we've all heard about Disney, right? Yeah, that they won't do female superheroes because they've already got the girl market locked up with princesses. Yeah, that's what Disney has said. That's why there's no Black Widow, that's why no Scarlet Witch, that's why there's no Gamora. Well, we don't need to offer those things because we've already got the girl market like locked up.
If you look at anime, some of the best-selling anime ever are magical girl shows, like Madoka Magica, Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor, like.
Things like Young Justice got canceled because it was like a Cartoon Network special rated show, but it had the wrong demographics and too many girls were watching it, so they couldn't market for it.
Can you imagine if they tried to do that to My Little Pony? There's too many dudes watching this show. But no, they embraced it because they're smart and said, you know what, dudes want to watch our show. We're gonna let dudes watch our show. So yeah, they should take a look at the My Little Pony fandom and take some marks from that.
See, what the networks are thinking is that girls will watch a boys show, boys will watch a girls show. That's what you hear consistently. But that's like all, but that's what they all say.
But yeah.
And so that's what drives some of this stuff, unfortunately. And so when you get a wonderful show like this, it's like I always tell my friends, watch the hell out of it, buy the toys and give them away for Christmas. I mean, you know, keep it on the air, show them that it works.
I think it's like the exact opposite because I've really gotten into anime and a lot of anime fans are male and they watch shows with all female casts, like literally no males in the show. And women don't even watch that show, it's just guys like to watch it. Like it doesn't matter what gender the characters are if the show's good.
And it doesn't even have to be like a fan servicey show either. I mean, there's plenty of
K-On!
great non-fan service shows that are all girl casts that I was president of Stone's Anime Club for 3 years and we watched a ton of shows that had almost no fan service that were all girls and all the dudes in club because there was all dudes in my club. Loved. And yeah, female president in a group full of guys. I don't know how that happened.